Hello, everyone. We are back. We are looking at the second part today of the Dinosaur Protection Group. That sounds like Spinosaurus. JP3 Spinosaurus to be exact. Okay, I don't remember where we left off. Let's see. Reports, I believe, is where we were. Yeah. Let's look at investigating the old park. Ooh, another wallpaper. So let's save that to desktop. Alrighty. What caused the downfall of the original Jurassic Park? So that might be a little loud. Turn that down just a smidge. Because I want ambience. I chose a Jurassic Park ambience video to go in the background. It's a pretty cool picture there. The controversial 1993 incident was swept under the rug by InGen during the initial years after its abandonment. Dinosaurs remaining on the island were left to fend for themselves. The families of the victims were supposedly given hush money, and all information surrounding the park was hidden. What happened? We know, but the people in universe don't know. In 1993, an InGen computer programmer named Dennis Nedry was alleged to have deactivated Jurassic Park security systems in an act of sabotage, likely to steal the dinosaur embryos to sell on the black market to a rival company. This resulted in a catastrophe that not only destroyed the park, cost people their lives, but also exposed InGen's embryonic library to the fallout of the park's abandonment. Theories regarding the incident were openly discussed until after a televised interview with Dr. Ian Malcolm in 1995, during which he famously disclosed sensitive information about the events of '93. However, InGen undertook a dedicated effort to discredit Dr. Malcolm's claims. The company's interference came in the form of several published interviews, and company representative Peter Ludlow, armed with years of experience in litigation, used a combination of legal loopholes, misinformation, and outright bribes in order to maintain a favorable reputation for the company. Out of a desire to preserve Costa Rica's reputation as a safe tourist paradise, Costa Rican officials contributed to the cover-up as well, stating in print, John Hammond and InGen's work is filed under genetic research for an ecological preserve. There's no evidence or credibility to far-fetched claims of living dinosaurs. Ultimately, the misdirection worked. The public became convinced that the eccentric mathematician was lying and that InGen was not responsible for any wrongdoing as a result of their genetics program. Jurassic Park was dismissed as a hoax, and the public moved on. Yeah, Malcolm is a card. Malcolm would kind of be a hard one to believe. And it's a hard claim to believe. It's kind of a difficult thing to believe. Of course, the narrative that Ludlow had carefully constructed began to unravel in '97 when the Tyrannosaurus was set loose in San Diego. This time, the public demanded the truth about what was potentially roaming the islands owned by InGen. Still, it would be years before evidence surfaced that would disclose the true catalyst of the original tragedy. Details of the damage caused by InGen employee and InGen's abandonment of the island can be found within the recovered pages of InGen's Dinosaur Information Guide, thanks to Jurassic Hacker. Ooh, let's see. Sensitive material. Okay, let me find a better ambient video. This one sucks. There we go. That'll do. Car horns? Really? Persistent sabotage. Move my head out of the way. Actually, I don't know if my face cam is in the... Yeah, it's not in the way for this. Okay. So I basically let you kind of take a look at this. Suggest the insulated pipes for transfer liquid nitrogen to embryos' units. It's just cause considerable rise in temperatures and loss of viable embryos. Oh. That son of a bitch not only stole dinosaur DNA, he severed the nitrogen pipes. What an asshole Nedry was. I didn't even realize he did that. Because of water damage from the burst pipe leading to the artificial lake outside the visitor center also caused considerable damage to embryo storage units and the exposed foundations within the lower levels of the building. Units completely buckled on face wash away. Minor tectonic activity was suggested. Ah, okay. However, an examination into employee Dennis Nedry's potential involvement with corporate espionage is still underway after park veterinarian Gerald Harding disclosed information and personal reports suggesting embryos were stolen in an effort to sell to competing companies. InGen private and legal teams are currently investigating. Stegosaurus, DNA. Ah, the DNAs had reached 100% in these animals. Okay. Despite this loss of valuable material, the animal is currently active on Isla Sorna and Nublar. Interesting. See, this is vital information. Velociraptor killed during 93 incident. That's true, Rex. He did take them down. Operation Clean Sweep canceled. Remaining Nublar assets, organic or inorganic, abandoned. Press public information to be monitored and regulated. So they preferred a massive... In the end, after cleanup attempts, they decided to just basically sweep it all under the rug. Honestly, that was probably their smartest move. Jump forward to Mizrani Global's involvement. Let's take a look at how they chose to handle the 93 incident. Our founder has some fascinating inside information on how this fresh wave of misinformation was directed behind the scenes. When they began constructing Jurassic World, Mizrani Global sought to bury the specter of Jurassic Park. Employees of the company were sworn to keep the original resort out of the public eye. However, Simon Mizrani decided to retain select elements of Hammond's original vision, including the old Jurassic Park gate design and a whitewashed history of the previous incarnation of the park. The company had considered having several other exhibits showcasing remnants of the old park, including a Gyroscope tour past the visitor center. However, when Jurassic World turned out to be a smash hit upon its opening in 2005, Mizrani Global felt that looking back would prove counter to the business model. Once again, the goal was profit, and the remaining structures of the old park were placed into restricted areas or dismantled. Ah, you know what? I bet they did dismantle a lot of the old infrastructure. What's cool is, like, anybody that knows me knows that I love abandoned facilities. I love nature taking back buildings. I love that aesthetic so much. Ancient ruins, ancient ruins, modern day ruins. This aesthetic right here happens to be one of my all-time favorite. It just gets me going, It's beautiful. It's the clash of like nature and the natural world and the ancient world creeping in on a modern setting and taking back nature taking back what belongs to her. There's something poetic and beautiful, at least to me, though I love it. That's why I have a handful of vlogs going around and exploring stuff in my immediate vicinity. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, be sure to do so. I clearly label them exploring ruins, so if you don't feel like looking through all my other crap, you can find those directly. While evidence definitively proving the Jurassic Park saboteur was working on someone else's behalf remains thin, here at the DPG we refuse to believe he worked alone. When the opportunity for great wealth is presented, great forces will mobilize. It might seem obvious to demand those responsible for these animals keep an eye on the employees, especially given the more recent events of Jurassic World, but who's to keep an eye on the employers? If we are to maintain the well-being of these animals after saving them from Mount Sibo and the safety of the world they inhabit, we must ensure those involved with their safety, including everyone at DPG, are committed to speaking up at the first sign of betrayal of the public trust. This time, knowledge must not be buried in fear, but widely opened with power. After all, greed is timeless. Extinction doesn't just rear its ugly head in the form of a volcano. Volcano. It can come from the misguided motives of a single human, or a covert scheme of larger forces pulling the strings. Sorry, I am so yawny today. It's our world. These creatures are all our responsibility. So sign up today. Let's save them. Let's see. This one's probably the weaker one that I don't really care too much about digging around in too much, but we'll take a look regardless. I'm saving these images. How long is this? Oh, this was like a very lengthy read. All right, we'll try to get through this. That's pretty cool artwork. A world-class team of almost 40 veterinarians and 25 scientists used to work at Jurassic World, caring for the health of the dinosaurs, but most have since dropped off the radar. It is vitally important to foster this area of study once again so that we can ensure the dinosaurs' well-being into the 21st century. We hope to shed light on the serious health hazards these wonderful creatures will face and how critical it is to support these science and scientists behind their career. Despite their size and impressive strength, the dinosaurs inhabiting Isla Nublar are not immune to common illnesses. These creatures were brought to the modern world from vastly different conditions, spanning approximately 170 million years throughout the Mesozoic eras. Naturally, such a drastic change in conditions brings with it a number of unique problems. Responding to those concerns is a big part of the DPG's mission. Once we're able to safely move the dinosaurs from Isla Nublar, we are committed to establishing a center for paleo-veterinarians dedicated to ensuring that these magnificent but fragile creatures don't succumb to modern pathogens in their next environment. What do you mean once we're safely able to remove them from Isla Nublar? Defend Isla Nublar! March on Capitol Hill. Oh, that's kind of cool. I'm going to save this image too. Yeah, they were trying to do the activism thing. 10th of September, 2018. The techniques used for their care were refined through Jurassic World's operation, as was the study and research of how to kickstart the animals' immune systems when they left the safety of the egg. Effective strategies were also put in place for treating dinosaurs that inevitably became sick or injured. The needs of these animals were unique and largely unknown to the small team of paleoveterinarians who were pioneers in this new frontier of zoological research. Naturally, with different species come different potential threats. Osteomyelitis appearing in the distinctive intracranial bone of the Parasaurolophus to a fungal infection that plagued the folds of Dilophosaurus's decorative frill. Each animal had an entire spectrum of diseases that required fast diagnosis, expert treatment, and active monitoring. Yeah, a lot of it was guesswork right here. You see they're saying that. Each dinosaur on the island underwent a series of weekly health checks. Okay. Physical and mental well-being. So I'm assuming that she had some idea of how the paleo veterinarians worked on the island, so she could probably gather up some data. And it's more than just treating illnesses. It's discoveries, drawing from some of our earliest subjects. Yeah, I mentioned this before, but it's got to be a trying effort to care for animals that you know nothing about. Common diseases, the common cold. Bumblefoot? What? Whoops. I accidentally opened the Xbox app. What is Bumblefoot? Inflammation of a dinosaur's foot causing a cut or abrasion becomes infected. Oh. Very painful and reduces the animal's overall range of movement. Well, obviously. Odor emanating from it? Yeah, I can imagine. Again, I apologize today for my sleepy demeanor. I got to bed so late last night. I did not feel good last night before bed, and I struggled to get to sleep on time and struggled to wake up on time today. And as a result, my work is suffering, but life moves on. Ragtooth. Sickness can occur from infection from inside the gum line. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Spreading bacteria through the mouth and causing overall breakdown of the soft tissue in the jaw. Bracken fern poisoning. The type of fern which has existed for more than 55 million years and which many herbivore dinosaurs eat can be dangerous when eaten in excess. If too much bracken is consumed, poisoning can occur, resulting in thiamine deficiency, sluggish behavior, and secondary infections. The best way to solve this is just to remove the ferns from their habitat. Hookworms, well, that's kind of self-explanatory. You know, gutworm. Ticks, yeah, I gotta imagine ticks are probably dangerous around these parts. Rabies. Ooh, could you imagine a velociraptor with rabies? Ooh. Saving the carnivores. You have great timing, my gal. It is time to address one of the most controversial subjects related to dinosaur protection. Carnivores. It's no secret these giant creatures have been the main cause of negative press aimed towards dinosaurs. However, we believe the animals are rarely, if ever, to blame for human fatalities. The blame falls squarely upon humans. Exploitation of dinosaurs, as well as their disregard for the animals, ingrained behaviors and instincts. Scientists' research around predatory dinosaurs has shown that these animals are intelligent and delicately care for their young, similar to crocodiles. Crocs can easily kill their prey with sharp teeth. However, a mother crocodile can also carefully cradle her young in her jaws. Tyrannosaurs are extremely protective of their infants. Studies even suggest that Tyrannosaurus might mate for life. Some people like to call dinosaurs monsters, but research has proven otherwise. Dinosaurs are not monsters, they're animals. Those leading the charge against carnivorous dinosaurs often point to the 2015 incident when Jurassic World's pterosaurs displayed uncharacteristic levels of aggression towards humans. Paleontologists and animal behaviorists agree these particular pterosaurs would likely not have displayed such a behavior in the wild. Millions of years ago, they lived alongside the shorelines of oceans, hunting large prehistoric fish and small dinosaurs. However, at Jurassic World, they were contained inside an aviary that was not at all tailored to their needs and behaviors. The body of water accessible to them was far too small, and their food was supplied to them, depriving them of much needed exercise gained from hunting in open spaces. When freed from their enclosure, they instinctually flocked towards the nearest and biggest body of water in order to collect food for nesting. Unfortunately, this led them to a heavily trafficked main boardwalk of the park. Though this incident was undoubtedly a tragedy, it was not the fault of the pterosaurs. It was caused by human lack of research and empathy, and has resulted in widespread negative sentiment towards the carnivores. Yeah. She's just talking about how their fight goes on. Recent studies have shown that carnivores, especially the large ones, are essential order ecosystem to remain healthy. Well, yes, in an ecosystem, you need the entire chain. So it looks like she was already in the early stages of knowing that they needed to be transported off the island. Where are you going to put them, though? That's the thing. The female Tyrannosaurus was first introduced to Isla Nublar in 1989, having spent the first year of her life in a small enclosure on Isla Sorna, along with several other of her species. The paddock at Jurassic Park was originally built to house 2 T-Rexes, but with only one active on Nublar during the incident in 1993. This impressive animal would remain unchallenged as the island's apex predator for almost a decade. The T-Rex, a Tyrannosaur of that size, requires a large amount of meat every day to survive. And during the years before Jurassic World, she was never without things to hunt. The rate at which the T-Rex consumed prey was proportional to the size of the island, which was big enough for some prey to successfully hide from predators, but not too big for the T-Rex to lose track of her food sources completely. Despite suffering from a nasty case of ragged tooth and mild malnutrition upon her recapture in 2002, this powerful giant has successfully survived by hunting Parasaurolophus, Gallimimus, and a herd of goats that had been abandoned on the island by InGen. By keeping their population numbers at a consistent level, the Tyrannosaur helped maintain a healthy ecosystem merely through her natural predatory behavior. But now she's alone. From 2004 onward, and for a considerable time into the park's operation, Mizrahi Global transported various dinosaur species to and from Isla Sorna during the construction of the new park, and an entirely new batch of dinosaurs is now left to roam free on Isla Nublar. This includes a considerable number of large carnivores, such as Allosaurus and Carnotaurus, which joined the Tyrannosaur in the fight for survival under the shadow of Mount Sibo. Isla Sorna is a much larger island than Isla Nublar, and the carnivores that came from there now face not only the wrath of the island's resident Tyrannosaur, but also an extensive loss of landmass. This change has caused an increase in fatal confrontations between meat eaters, resulting in some species falling back into extinction. The most recent carnivore added to the extinction list is the Metricanthosaurus, which once thrived in the denser parts of the jungles, hunting small herbivores. All right, we got to find out what that is. Copy. Paste and go. Oh, okay. Poor little failer. The Tyrannosaurus and the other carnivores require a suitable new home and fast. While options are limited, we believe there's a place somewhere that can support the remaining dinosaurs, so the herbivores and carnivores alike can thrive. You can, if you agree with me, join our cause. Join our cause, people. See what's under the blog. All right, she's talking about how they moved into their new office. Welcoming you to the DPG. These are small articles that you can kind of read yourself if you're interested. They have to do more with the human characters, and I'm more interested in the animals. They were trying to save the animals. They knew Mount Sibo was going to wipe them out. Mount Sibo's reactivation was first reported by the Costa Rican Institute of Volcanology, or CRIV, in 2017. Its first geological commotion in almost 500 years. The last documented activity was by cartographer Nicholas D. Bahalam. Did we read this already, didn't we? Or did I just read this myself? February 2017, volcano was in fact burning slowly. So even a Jurassic Park way back in 93 had been successful and ran for 20 plus years. They would have run into this problem and had to shut down the park. If Jurassic World had been successful and ran indefinitely, again, they'd had to have shut down the park. So even if Malcolm had been wrong about chaos theory and human hubris and all of this stuff, Mother Nature would have inevitably shut down everything on that island. Of course, had none of these terrible incidents happened, InGen would have still been large and in charge, and they could have simply moved the park to another island. Perhaps Isla Sorna? I don't know. They did have other islands at their disposal. The volcano was reclassified as active in September of the same year, after a private helicopter illegally flew too close to the island and its passengers spotted several ruptures of magma from the mountain peak. This sighting led to a geological investigation into Mount Sibo's dormancy. Harmonic tremor readings, infrared satellite technology, and seismic instruments confirmed that the activity was indeed unfolding beneath the surface of Isla Nublar. Wonder why the volcano became active again after 500 years. Ooh, here's a simulation of what that might look like. It's impossible to predict the exact date when the volcano is going to erupt. Well, we know when it erupted now. Womp, 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 womp. Dinosaur Protection Group for kids. Coloring corner. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Download. 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 Oh, it gave them to me as PDF files. Word search. I kind of want to do this. Can I save this? Save as. Oh, it wants me to save it as a web page. Anybody want to sit here and do this puzzle with me? Or you can kind of pause and do it on your own, I suppose. Dinosaur facts. Ooh, Apatosaurus. Codename Bleh. Three-horned face. Triceratops. Stegosaurus. Roofed lizard. Carnotaurus, meat-eating bull. Brachiosaurus, arm lizard. Why arm lizard? Baryonyx. Heviclaw. Stygimoloch. Alright, so I have been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. I've been saying Stygimollusk. Like it's some sort of slug or snail. Stygimoloch. Well, now I know. Okay. Know your footprints. Just the kids section. We tackled the blog. We tackled Mount Sibo. We tackled reports, our cause, and home. So I think with that, I believe that's everything that the DPG has to offer, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else watching. Somebody save me. I don't care how you do what you say. Man, come on. Oh, I can download these. Okay. Dinosaurs are mortal. Cruelty is timeless. All right. Well, that is the Dinosaur Protection Group, everybody. We have successfully looked at this website. Like I said, these websites were really neat back in the day. I remember vaguely looking around at them, but I wasn't a content creator when these websites were live and operating in 2017. I became a content creator in late 2017 into 2018, and my focus at the time was mainly trying to play a lot of the old video games from when I was a kid and trying to play catch up. And here's the funny part. I have spent basically 9 years playing mostly Nintendo games, playing mostly catch up on all the games from my lifetime. And it took me way too long to get this Jurassic World playlist up on my channel. But as we go into year 10, all bets are off. We are going full on with everything. I'm going to cover everything I've ever wanted to cover, especially with Jurassic Park stuff. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for checking out all the videos in this playlist. Yeah, I think that's about it. I did mention the vlogs. Check out those vlogs if you want. See you, folks.